Okay, should we go?
Let's go.
Go first? Yeah, let's go.
No, the first slide's all about you, so you might as well go first.
I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. This talk is not starting very well, with the two presenters actually fighting between themselves.
It's fairly normal when we get together.
Jennifer, I hope it's not Jennifer Verschoor, just joined the session, because that means she hasn't been able to do the following session, which we were just hearing about. It's great to be here. Thank you to the invitation for the invitation to present, and it's great to be, despite what we said, great to be presenting again with Shaun. We work very closely every week, and so a certain familiarity which we have must be excused, because we both of us do something which some of you will recognize, and all the photographs except for one are my photos, and Shaun refused to have his photo up there. So there's one photograph about Shaun, and I'd like you to write in the chat which one it is and what does it say about Shaun.
There's a photo of me. Is this the third time we've done this talk? And I've never noticed there was a photo of me.
It's about you.
I don't like what it says about me is I don't like photos of myself, so I try and avoid them as much as possible.
Hello, everyone. So, can you spot the photo about Shaun? That relates to Shaun?
But somebody said apparently it's the one that's drinking, so that's probably true.
I lost the chat, actually. Are people writing anything in the chat?
People aren't using the room chat. They're kind of sending private messages through. That obviously, as moderators, we can see.
Can anybody go to the room chat, because we're missing all your messages? Can you go back to the room chat?
Yeah, it's because people are sending messages through themselves rather than into the main chat room. Not to worry, we can click on it. So as Marisa was saying, Marisa and I work together on the ELT chat kind of project that's been taking place for about 3 years now, which is a community for teachers to share ideas and chat about English language teaching, which is Twitter and Facebook page. And we'll talk about that much later. Both Marisa and I are teacher trainers, and since we're both teacher trainers and we both enjoy being online, we both found that when we were preparing for a conference last year, we had a similar interest in terms of what being online can do for professional development, and the fact that these days there's a certain amount of autonomy that teachers can take when thinking about their professional development. So this is what this talk is about, and what we want to do is consider how a teacher can be autonomous, what kind of tools there are for them, and then towards the end, evaluate how a teacher can go about choosing something to do for their own professional development. So let's begin with this picture, and this is what Marisa and I would say is a typical picture, and I think most of us as teachers experience this feeling at some point or other in our career. Both Marisa and I have been in English language teaching for over 20 years, and we certainly both feel that this idea of feeling stuck, a teacher feeling stuck, is one that comes up quite often in our career. It's not a question of feeling stuck by the profession or not even that we're not doing a good job, but we're feeling stuck because you sort of know as a teacher that as you're teaching a lesson that things aren't going right, and as a result you might need you probably want to find a solution, and that solution is probably through some kind of professional development. So as a teacher, we start to think about ourselves, and we start to understand that something is not working, and we need to find some inspiration in order to take our career onwards and get back the love of the job that we have. So this talk is looking at how we can find those things out for ourselves, and therefore how we can find a way to stop this feeling of being stuck. Marisa. Oops, sorry.
One of the, whoops, I skipped my slide. Okay. One of the reasons that perhaps we feel stuck is because teachers are generally pretty passionate people, but they're also very usually quite tired people, because we have to do a job that doesn't look very unlike a juggling job. We have to so many different things to juggle with in our everyday lives that we forget what a complicated business teaching is. We have to have a mixture. Somebody is not able to see the slides. Okay, well, I cannot deal with that now, but I'm going back to the talk. We have to juggle things like our technical know-how, professional understanding, and our personal qualities, which perhaps are the most significant of the three dimensions. But to back all that up with things that have to do with knowledge of language, knowledge of methods and techniques, cultural awareness, knowing about the different approaches to teaching, materials design, and so on and so forth. So teachers are generally in a difficult position, and not one single course could possibly undertake to satisfy all that. And the more advanced the course is, the more specialized it is. So maybe we need some other solution to continue with our own learning on our own. Shaun.
Yeah, sorry, I touched my mic off. That doesn't help, does it? So, as teachers, we understand that professional development has many guises. I think we often feel, certainly from a face-to-face point of view, that professional development is attending a conference or attending a workshop, having a workshop in the school, perhaps doing some sort of training course. But of course, there are many things that could be professional development. Some of these are what Marisa and I noted down as what teachers can do. So, for example, as we get more experienced as teachers, we learn to teach different levels of language. Or if we're a non-native speaker of English, we do a language development course in order to develop our own language. And if we're a native speaker of English, then we probably do a language development course to understand how to teach the language that we speak, but we really don't understand often when we start to be teachers. So professional development is many, many things. Now, in the days before the internet became widespread, a teacher undertaking professional development had many what I would now call disadvantages. For example, to do a course, you often had to take time off work, you had to pay a lot of money, you probably had to travel somewhere to attend wherever the person was, and it was expensive if you lived in one country to get a trainer to go to another country, and so on. Even if you wanted to read a book, a methodology book about teaching, trying to find that, trying to source it, to get it to the place where you work, is difficult and expensive. So prior to the internet and the development of the internet for teaching purposes, professional development, though was possible, had quite a lot of disadvantages to it. And of course, now that the internet has become widespread, we can start to think about a different approach and a different view for teacher development. The fact that the world is now smaller and the fact that we all connect together means that our opportunities for doing different types of professional development and different specialist types of teacher development are now more open. And so through the World Wide Web, we suddenly have this array of things that we can do. So we get, for example, we've gone from having a staff room in our school to having a global staff room. It's now possible to connect to teachers all around the world, as we're doing at this conference, and as many of us do on a daily basis through our Facebook groups and our Twitter groups. It's also possible to get hold of articles, which you probably had to subscribe to a journal before and get the journal sent to. There are so many blogs and things like that out there to read now. So getting hold of material to develop ourselves and finding out what other teachers are doing is a lot easier than in the days that I just talked about before, when you couldn't get hold of the literature so easy. So we've gone from a position where actually accessing different types of professional development was difficult into a point of view where now there's so many types of professional development. Marisa.
So from a limited number of opportunities, and from just being able, perhaps, yes, I just thank you very much for doing this. You click the X off for the chat for everyone. If you would like to write something in the chat box, please click on the Room tab so that we don't lose all your comments, because we can't really actually follow them. So from going on from limited opportunities, just a couple of keen people in our staff room, we have all these options open to us, and the options are so many that very often they're quite likely to confuse us and confound us and make a person who doesn't really know quite where to begin to just not know where to get started. And this is just a fun slide to show what you can feel like at the end of the day when you've been talking to people on the web or you've been browsing on the web. You can end up being with a number of open browser windows, and you really don't know how to save them, what to do with them. And connected and organized autonomous professional development means that perhaps you need to make some decisions. But the question is, of course, the big question is, how do you decide? A lot of people are capable of doing this, but the vast majority of us can kind of flounder with 22 browser windows open at the end of the day and not really knowing how to go on. So how do we decide? I think perhaps one of the questions we have to ask ourselves, and perhaps one that we may need to decide first for ourselves, is to kind of understand what we need to develop, in what areas we need to develop. Most of you, I would presume you know how to design syllabuses and courses for your learners. So in some ways, you have to be your own doctor. You are the person that provides help and ideas for language development or educational development to your learners. But being your own doctor, your own profiler, might help you begin with some of the ideas that you need to develop, some of the areas that you might need to work on with regard to your own self. So doing your own needs analysis, you might want to use different tools and instruments. You might want to ask a colleague to come in to observe you, or you might want to videotape yourself. And in the absence of a colleague who could help you identify some of your issues and difficulties of areas that need development, you might put that out on the web, on YouTube, maybe as an unlisted or private video, and invite colleagues from around the world to give you ideas, comments, and suggestions. This is a very simple instrument that I use for myself. I learned it from Rod Balaitho many years ago on a teacher development workshop. And it's a good instrument to begin thinking about in terms of yourself. And the three main areas outlined, the headings are personal qualities, professional understanding, and your technical know-how. In a sense, it's who you are as a person, what your understanding of the background theory of learning, of teaching, of language learning and language teaching is, and your techniques, your methodology, your technical know-how, whether you know what to do in the classroom, is the last area. Under the headings, you might be putting down different things. This is a personal profile for me, but it's not necessarily going to be the same for you. And it's a good idea to set some goals for yourself. Who were you and what were you like at the beginning of your career as a teacher, or before training, perhaps even as a teacher? And what is your what is your personal goal for each area? And periodically you might want to track your progress, perhaps by putting in a little X, a little, maybe you might want to, oh, my pencil is not working. Okay, here it is. Maybe you might want to put a little X here. Oh, I'm doing so far so good. This is where I am now. I'm halfway through my technical know-how or my drilling technique or my educational technology knowledge. And then you might want to review that from time to time. This is just one idea, of course, but you also need feedback. You need to do some more. We've connected that with the concept of the 3 C's, and perhaps we've added a 4. You need your critical thinking to be able to decide what sorts of things you need to develop in yourself. You need to collaborate with others and to be able to communicate your problems, your thoughts, your issues, and you need to develop your creative thinking skills, because developing autonomously or professionally, developing on your own, is not an easier task, but you might need to mobilize all you can do in order to achieve this goal on your own. Shaun?
So we followed this idea of, as you can see from what Marisa was talking about, the critical thinking, collaboration, communication and creativity. And we kind of followed this model that is becoming talked about in teaching as a whole, this put forward by the Partnership for 21st Century Organization, Education, which was not obviously about teacher training, but I think the idea of critical thinking, communication, collaboration and creativity are fundamental if we're going to professionally develop ourselves in an autonomous kind of way. So we've used these C's as a way of being able to evaluate and look at what's out there as a way of professionally developing. So we're going to change the first C a bit. Instead of collaborate, we'll just change it to connect. And obviously, the first way a teacher can start to think about professional development and looking at their profile that Marisa talked about and seeing how that can be addressed is by connecting with educators throughout the world. Obviously, people like yourselves and like us that all come to conferences like this and make those initial connections. And these days, there are many ways to connect with teachers all over the world with similar interests and different interests. But what I find incredibly enlightening is the fact that when you start to meet teachers in different countries, how similar all our issues is, or how similar all our goals are. I think when you work and live in one country, you tend to almost get isolated and think about that country as itself. But a teaching problem or a teaching or way of developing oneself is a global thing, and connecting just does address that. Of course, it's okay saying just go connect. How do you do it? If you start on Twitter or if you start on Facebook, who do you follow? Who do you find? Who do you connect with? And Marisa and I felt that one of the things to do was perhaps to use this term, which we've borrowed from business, this idea of a quality circle. A quality circle is usually, in the world of business, is a group of people getting together to assess a problem, try and find a solution to it, and take something forward. In a sense, the people that you talk to in your own staff room, when you say, "Oh, I don't know how to teach the present perfect," or "Can I have an idea for a reading lesson?" When you talk to those teachers and they respond to you, this is a small scale quality circle. But I think now, of course, as Debbie's saying, is through connectivism, the idea of this quality circle being spread around the world is one that we as educators can tap into. And clearly there are a lot of online communities that are developing. As we said at the beginning, Marisa and I are two of the people that run an online community called ELT Chats. So this is one way that people can tap into other educators around the world. And I know, judging by some of the names that are in this room, I know that people partake in that. And as the online communities have grown, they've also got more specialized. So we've got ELT Chat, which deals with everything. Then we've got an organization like, or a community, sorry, like EAP Chat, English for academic purposes. I think Tyson's actually in the room, who who looks after that one. You've got the community that shares pictures. I mean, something as simple as having a resource online, which is ELT Pics, an online community. And as we get as the communities grow, so they get more specialised. So, for example, the last hashtag down there, you've got Oz ELT, which is a community specific to obviously Australian teachers. Although and a lot of us join in their chats because they're of interest to us all. So you've got these online communities, and you can see there underneath the slide, you've got the TDC. We originally did this talk for the Teacher Development Special Interest Group of IATEFL. So you've got these special interest groups that are now communities online. Two others that are in this slide. You've got the A Planet community, which Marisa will talk about towards the end of the talk, and then the ITDI online community, again, of which some of you are members, which is a group of people from around the world blogging together, sharing courses together, and sharing information together. So this idea of the slide disappeared. Has the moderator turned off our slides? Thank you. So the first step in autonomous professional development is perhaps finding the relevant online community for yourself. And having found that community, you need to build your PLN, don't you, Marisa?
Well, it's true, and a lot of our PLN is in this room. So can we have a show of hands, please, of who thinks they are part of our PLN? Is this the end of our talk?
Nobody puts a hand back.
Can people say something about who thinks they are part of our PLN? Yes?
We've got 4 or 5 people put their hand up, which is quite nice. And they are people that I would consider to be part of my PLN as well, so that's good.
Yes. And Chuck and Vance. Yes, and Jennifer. Okay, great. So you're already part of our PLN. We hope we are part of yours. I think it's true that we knew each other, Tara, long before we met. When we met in what was it, Brighton, for the first time. It was just a recognition. It wasn't just a getting to know you. It was meeting someone who felt like an old friend already. I want to go back to, if I'm allowed, because I think we have a little bit more time than we had originally thought. Can I go back to something that Shaun said earlier about quality circles, which we believe we are. We believe we are a quality circle already, and that kind of resonates a lot with what Dr. Sugata Mitra said yesterday in his opening keynote presentation about learning is now in the cloud, and we are such a wonderful example of learning in the cloud. We are self-driven. We are we know our own needs perhaps, or could be trying to understand them a little bit better. And we are a quality circle in the sense that if we band together, if we come together with a problem, we can probably sort out our problem, because it's all about problem solving. And our issues and our difficulties in the classroom, our difficulties in our own development, they are problems that we can solve collaboratively and that we can solve by working together. So building your PLN, your personal learning network, or as Shelley likes to call it, passionate learning network, is not such a bad idea. In the old days, it could be a couple of willing or unwilling people in your staff room. But hey, where could you find people who could be there 24/7, someone is always online if I need help, if I need a link, if I need to read something, if I ask a question. Can you say the same thing about someone who comes to the same staff room with you every day of the week? I think it's not quite the same, because there are various reasons. People are not always willing to help. People are not always knowledgeable enough on every area in which you need help, and people are not always available. And collectively and collaboratively, we can have all that. So building our own personal learning network through social networking platforms such as Facebook, as Twitter, which for me is the heart of online collaborative learning activities. And by using other Web 2.0 tools like blogs and bookmarking tools like Delicious and Eagle and so on and so forth are important first steps. The other thing that we need to understand is that it cannot be any which way. I don't think I want to follow everyone I meet. I don't think I can learn from everyone equally well. So you really need to slowly build or join a circle of trust, because we are living in an age of technology. We are learning in the cloud. We are learning through using educational EdTech tools, but in reality, we really mustn't forget, we must remember that it's all about people. It's about people we trust, people we respect, people we admire, and people we think we can learn from. I don't know if you agree with this building or joining a circle of trust. For me, it's a very important part of my learning. If one of you in my PLN who is in this room now, if Tyson or Chuck or Vance or Sean, I can't see all the names now, forgive me if I'm missing someone, if they tweet something because they are people I trust, I pay attention, I will follow the link, I'll see what they're thinking about, I will make a note of it and I will learn from them. So we have to trust. And we can build our own circle of trust, or we can join a circle of trust, a PLN, which is already in place and seems to be working by joining one of these platforms. And sharing also is quite important. So it's quite significant to be able to use newer tools for sharing and curation, such as Pinterest, where we can also share and collaborate, and things like Scoopit, which how many of you know these tools, Scoopit and Pinterest and similar tools? Okay, great. Sharing, resources, reflections, yes, okay. If we have a couple of minutes at the end, I'm going to put up a couple of links for you. I think on Scoopit you can curate up to 5 topics, but on Pinterest it's really unlimited. So do play and experiment with these online tools, and also it's also a great place for you to find people who are already curating good content and start following them. You couldn't do any better but to follow everyone in this room. So can I ask you perhaps to write down your Twitter handle? I'm going to begin with mine, which is next to my name. No, it isn't. So follow me on Twitter. Follow Shaun Wilden. It's not just Shaun, it's Shaun Wilden. And follow us on Twitter, and also follow some of our followers, because people I follow are also important to me. They're part of my PLN. Shaun, I think it's you.
It is.
No.
So, still with this model of the C's then, we were talking about the 4 C's, and our first C was the connecting, and our second C was curating. And of course, so the third C from that is to create, so going from curation to creation. And I think many teachers started blogging for this very reason. I think there's a lot to be gained from blogging and from following blogs. Of course, you could use blogs for curation because you could collect people's blogs and you learn from them. And you from that point of view, you start to understand what others are doing, get ideas, and feel inspired. I know that following and reading blogs on a daily basis gives me lots of ideas for my teaching and my training, and also challenge me to think about things in different ways. But once we've got a blog, we can, of course, have a conversation, even if it's only a conversation with yourself. For example, I keep a blog on my interest, which is mobile learning. I keep a blog about apps. Now, I blog them simply because it's a place for me that makes me think about how an app might be used in teaching, what it can do, what it couldn't do, how it will fit into the scheme of things. It's a bonus for me that people read that blog, but that's not why I blog. It's almost like a personal way of developing myself. There's a nice post there to read about content creation that Debbie's just put down. So we can go from curation to creation and start to think about what we're doing. And these days, there's not just blogging through WordPress or Blogger and those kind of things. We could also have online journals or journals that work on our mobile devices like Penzu, which is on the side there. As a way of reflecting, most teacher training courses, when you do your initial teacher training, instill into you the idea of reflecting upon your lessons. And I think once we get out that training course, it's a skill that we've learned, but we don't always apply. And being a reflective practitioner is important in order to move forward and to develop yourselves. So we've got this idea of being able to create, and create in a way that people can see. When I showed you that list of different professional development things that you could do at the beginning of the talk, one of those things was kind of action research. And I think this is where the internet and the tools on the internet have really added and made it easier. When we wanted to do action research, or when I wanted to do action research at the beginning of my teaching career, it was often quite difficult. I mean, if you've got an action research and you want to get it published, that's quite difficult. But of course, now you can publish yourself through blogs and through a lot of online magazines. And also, when you want to get comments and ask for assistance for doing action research, then the internet through the quality circles, through the PLN, through the blogging is a way to be able to do that, and a way to get your ideas out there, which has never been there before. And as Marisa noted earlier, and we were talking about in the discussion, but there is now YouTube. I think we all go to YouTube to look at funny clips or this, that, and the other. But one of the astounding things that I find about YouTube is the amount of lessons that you can watch on there, or the amount of students that post themselves on there. I think it's amazing how many students video themselves and ask for comments about their language learning. And you know, a lot of teachers video their lessons. They put them up there. And you as a teacher, even in an isolated play context, can now have access to seeing what teaching is like in different places. So this idea of creation by videoing, by blogging, by keeping journals, but creation that has an audience that we don't necessarily have before. And of course, you could do something like have a webinar. I mean, obviously, this is a nice online conference. I think so, yeah. Having a webinar and taking part in a webinar. So these days there are so many. I mean, Marisa had this slide with the confusion. There are so many different webinars going on that if you have an interest in a specific area, be it EAP or business English or classroom management or using video, most of the time you can actually find an online session that will address that area. So many tools that are now out there for it.
Is it me?
It is, that's why I
wanted to also say that it's quite important, just to add a little word to what Shaun was saying earlier about attend a webinar. I would say present in a conference like this. There's nothing that can boost your development than having an idea and researching it and having to present it to your colleagues. I think part of our development, my development, is because I have to present, because I have to communicate. I really try harder than I would if I wasn't sharing any of any of the stuff I'm learning. Because I blog, I'm developing. It's not I'm developing and then I blog about it. My blog writing is part of my development. My Twitter chats are part of my development. So the other thing is collaborating and connecting, as in mentoring. And there was a great presentation by Thomas Lawrence earlier on mentoring, which you can access through the recordings of this conference. Mentor someone. Okay, you could mentor someone in your own school. Very often, you know, there's colleagues that think, you know, you're trying to get a job or whatever. It's sometimes easier to collaborate, to connect and mentor someone that doesn't really work with you. You could mentor someone by twinning, perhaps creating a wiki or a joint blog and experimenting together and writing down your reflections about your experiments. So that's a great idea for, we did a project called A Planet for EU, which I can try and show you the link for later. The other thing is that mentoring or collaborating in an experimentation type of cycle, which Shaun very rightly called it class research. It's not official research, but it's class research. Helps you develop because you could select an area of inquiry, an area that you want to develop. You could try it out with your learners. You could do some reflection, evaluating. Reporting could be through blogging or through an online journal, and then sharing it with your twin, with your mentee or your mentor, or with the world if your blog is public. So the cycle of class research is not unlike the cycle of the quality circles that I mentioned earlier. Define a problem, select an area, try it out, design materials, design solutions, experiment, evaluate, reflect, and share. And this is really what will bring you higher or develop your skills in the path of your professional development. We all begin as teachers somewhere along the line, but we develop our skills, we develop our knowledge, we become designers of materials, we become bloggers, professional or amateur for our own development. And then later on we perhaps may write materials for a publisher, we can become professional or not professional, but just like us, presenters at conferences. We can train, we can develop into areas such as teacher training, and who knows, one day we can even become gurus, which is perhaps quite unlikely, but it's not a bad ambition to have. I think Shaun's turn now to look at the cycle, just to recap on the steps of the cycle that we have been trying to promote to you.
So obviously we've been trying to show things that are aimed at helping people like ourselves professionally develop on our own. And I think because we're now in a world where there are so many resources out there, it's important for us to come at that with some sort of plan. Marisa showed you that the circle about where you start, you share, evaluate, and so on. But I think this is the whole process of what we are talking about. Elizabeth, she says that so somebody does say she's a guru. That's all she's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
She puts it out there every time we do the talk. So somebody goes, but you are a guru. There you go, Marisa. You can feel happy.
Says it doesn't make me a guru. You know who the true gurus are.
So what we try to do at the beginning is of this talk is we're establishing what happens when a teacher's been teaching for some time, and how they no matter how good they are as a teacher or how experienced they are, we all have this feeling from time to time that we feel we can be feeling stuck and we're looking for some inspiration. Marisa put forward that the best way to start to try and address this is to reflect upon yourself, your situation, and profile yourself as a teacher. Look at the disciplines that we put forward in the multidisciplinary chart of teaching, and decide which of those things you can do, which of those things you can't do, what other qualities you need to forward. Don't make me laugh, Elizabeth. And then having profiled yourself, you can then begin to connecting with people and connecting with circles of trust that you feel you're going to benefit from. Having done that, you should make an action plan. What are you going to do? Are you going to start by curating, creating, watching something on YouTube, reading so many blogs? And if having made your action plan, you're still not sure, or you want further guidelines, then use the PLN and your circle of trust in order to find the best option for you. So you should consider what your priorities are. What do you want to improve first? Is it just getting rid of that feeling of being stuck, or do you need further training? How much time do you have available? I mean, we don't have time to read all the tweets that come in on a day. We don't have time to read all the blog posts there. Do we have time to attend a webinar, to do a course, to watch a lesson, and so on? Also, we should bear in mind that although the internet has opened up this world of autonomous professional development, it still can cost you money. Doing a course online can still be expensive. So are we looking at free professional development, or is it something you want to invest in? And again, this might come back to what your goals are and what benefits you want to get from doing professional development. So that's an overview of what we feel that these days. We started out before the internet with very limited ways of being able to professionally develop ourselves, and now we've gone to the other extreme with far too many, and hopefully applying these steps will help you as a teacher find the best path for you to develop yourself. And so thank you very much for listening. We'll take our last slide just to remind you about ELT Chat, which takes place every Wednesday. And since it was Marisa that started ELT Chat, I'll hand it over to her.
Okay, I don't want to say very much about ELT Chat because most of you here are ELT chatters. But for those of you who are not ELT chatters, I want to just very quickly take you to the opening page of our website, which explains to you if you would like to. I'm going to put the link in the text chat as well for you to save. This is the introductory page for those of you who don't know what ELT Chat is. It's a weekly conversation that happens twice around lunchtime and in the evening every Wednesday, and it's on Twitter. And every week we decide, like a good quality circle, we brainstorm some topics, we decide on some topics, we vote on which topics we want to discuss this particular week on the blog. And this is, if you add the word WordPress here, you can be taken to the blog. And this is the call that Shaun put out just today for our next Wednesday's ELT Chat. What would you like to talk about on 16th of October? And people generally go down to the end of the blog and write their ideas, their suggestions as comments. There's one comment already. Shaun reminded us that one topic from last week, which was too late for the poll, are IT skills necessary for ELT teachers. So that's going to go up on the voting poll when it's time for us to decide what we're going to talk. During ELT chat, if you go on Twitter, we just discussed by using comments on our topic, and for every tweet. Yes, I think you're absolutely right. There's so many good topics presented, and we might get topic suggestions for further discussion on ELT chat, which is usually what happens after a conference. We're inspired and we want to continue the conversations on ELT chat. So this coming Wednesday, we will be following the topics here, and then when the time comes at 12 o'clock GMT, or is it GMT +3? I can't remember now. But it's usually on the post. Then we meet online and we discuss our topic, and then somebody collects all the tweets and we present them as a summary. So here is an example summary on lesson planning. That was a result of an ELT chat, which our great colleague Rachel Roberts did, and she presented all the ideas that we discussed on a particular ELT chat. I think can I just suggest that if you want to follow all the people who were in this room, perhaps you could go to the top of your screen, and when it says Blackboard Collaborate, I think there should be a save. You open that menu, there is a save option, and you can save the chat. So you can save the chat as a text in your computer, and then you can copy all the Twitter handles and go onto Twitter and follow all these good people. Shaun has to leave because he has a presentation on the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG, which is also happening this weekend, and he is organizing. So I've just lost my co-presenter.
I'm still here.
We have. Oh no, you're still here. I thought you said you were going.
I am in a moment. I wanted to see what you had to say.
Let's go back. Can we go back to our slides? I'm not going to share anything else. I will invite everyone to be online on Wednesday lunchtime or evening, but I would like to see if there are any questions right now. And perhaps you could type your questions.
Well, Elizabeth is a big joker.
Oh, she is.
That's the last time I buy her a drink at IATEFL, that's for sure.
So anyone has a question that they would like to pose? And of course, all that we've said doesn't mean that we don't want you to do courses, because both of us work for teacher training institutions.
Yeah, we need you to do courses.
And basic training is necessary, or advanced training, but then what you do after that is what we're suggesting. So, any questions? Well, we have to keep ourselves in jobs as well. Go to the file at the top, Leo. Go to File, Blackboard Collaborate, where it is at the top, Blackboard Collaborate. Go to File and then Save. Thank you. Save Chat. This presentation is also available from the previous time we did it at IATEFL. It's available on my blog. I think we have the recording of it on my blog if you want to follow it again, but we will have the recording on this platform as well. And you can see the slides there as well. Here it is.
So thank you all. I'm going to pop off to the other conference now. I'll see you all again later. Thanks, Marisa.
Thanks, Shaun. It was always great. It's always great to talk with you and fight with you.
Always. See you all at the LT chat on Wednesday.
Very
Yeah,
much
definitely.
fun.
Bye.
Bye. Would you like to ask any questions? Would you like to chat amongst yourselves? I promised I would give you one more. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. Can I just share one more link with you on Mentor Mob. Just 1 second. I think I will stop the recording now. I will thank everyone and stop the recording because the session is over. But I will. Mercedes, we stopped the subscriptions. I can subscribe you manually because every day we had so many bots coming in to subscribe. 300 squiggly and very dubious addresses were trying to spam us, and it was so much time to delete them all and sift through them. If you want to subscribe to the blog, I will, subscribe you manually. I should write something about that. Sorry about it, but it was just too much. Well, I can't find the link now, but if you go to Pinterest or Mentor Mob, you can find my boards by looking for my name, and you can find that's Mentor Pinterest for curation, and Mentor Mob, which is a great curation tool. And on my blog, I have a post about curation as well, which has all these links, yes. Okay, all these links are here. So that's all, folks. I'm going to stop the recording now.